Welcome back to the P.I Show. I'm Harry Nowicki. This is Tony Carbone. We're just discussing common law claims. We're both common law lawyers. We're passionate about common law. Tony, case in Tasmania. Someone finished work, went to a hotel, drank for 3 or 4 hours, left the hotel, got on his motorbike, and unfortunately the motorbike ran off the road, collided with a bridge, and he died. The widow of the claim sued the hotel for
loss of dependency.
At common law for loss of dependency, and she succeeded in Tasmania. The Court of Appeal by a 2-1 verdict, upheld her claim. The hotel said they had done nothing wrong, and her claim through the lawyers was that he'd been drinking for quite a while. They'd confiscated his keys, put the bike away, but at the end of the evening he demanded his keys back. They were a bit scared about him, and gave him the keys back, and he left, and then had the terrible case of running off the road. Now, hotels are vulnerable. Some people say, well, look, the person drank to excess and lost control. So, as I say, the case succeeded, but how would you look at the case?
Harry, this case here is one where the fellow was in a pub with very few patrons, so they knew full well how much he'd been drinking, and they kept serving him. It's not as if, in this day and age, you see hoteliers and publicans saying to people, you've had enough. That's it. We're not serving you anymore.
And they can refuse to serve.
They can refuse to, and in fact, they probably should.
The other thing, they could have rung a taxi. They could have rung the wife. They could have kept the bike. So all those things came up in terms of what could have happened.
I think the obvious thing they could have done, especially when he was demanding his keys and they felt intimidated and threatened, they should have rung up the police. The police probably would have attended and got him to sleep it off or ring up the wife.
But just driven him home.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in Tasmania. It was a sort of local town. Most people knew each other. And as you say, there was a sort of quite a close relationship with the person was known at the pub. It was a regular. And that night he started at 5 and he left the pub about 8:30. So he'd had quite a bit to drink.
Apart from the fact that they're responsible and they've got to pay damages to the widow and children, the fact is that the lady's lost her husband and the children have lost their father.
The father.
Mind you, he could have injured another road user. He could have hit an oncoming car. He could have, so there's a lot of issues. And I think that if it was...
The court got it right.
The court got it right in this case.
Yeah. Another case that went against the plaintiff was where it was a New South Wales case. She went to the Rugby Leagues Club and they had a promotion on a Sunday. All you could drink for, $20. She arrived there at 10, left at 4 o'clock. She'd been drinking all day. They stopped serving her at 3, and she left the pub, wandered onto the street, and was hit by a car. And she sued the Rugby League Club, and ultimately the court said the Rugby League Club wasn't liable.
The facts of that case are slightly different. What happened was when she left the club, she actually told people there that she was going to be accompanied by 2 gentlemen who were not intoxicated. So the rugby league
club
could assume that she was going to be safe. So the facts, slight difference or variation in the facts would have meant that she would have got up, but in that case, I think the court got it right.
The other thing about the case was that there were probably between 200 to 300 people at the Rugby Leagues Club that day. And the court said, look, it's very hard for the hotel to monitor what people are drinking. So she might have had 2 drinks or 50 drinks. No one quite knew how many drinks she had. It was argued in the case, and the court wasn't satisfied or couldn't be satisfied really or realistically how many drinks she had from 10 till 3. You assume she was fairly intoxicated, and there was a blood alcohol reading at the end when she went to hospital after the car accident. But the hotel couldn't monitor it because there were so many people in the pub.
I think the important facts in that case were that there were so many people, but more to the point that she actually told people she's going home with 2 other people.
But that didn't
Yeah.
transpire,
No.
and the people at the pub didn't know how she left.
Mind you, you wouldn't have needed much of a variation in the facts for her to win her case. A slight variation could have meant that she would have won her case.
The dissenting judge just said that the rugby league club was setting this up, and they knew people were going to be drinking all day. They had, in effect, discount alcohol all day from 10 till 5, and they knew people were going to drink.
Yep.
So they had a responsibility to make sure that when people left, they monitored them or were making sure they were safe and they had some way of getting home. They could have hired a bus, got a taxi, rang friends, relatives. They should have made sure that the woman, anyone who was leaving that hotel was safe. Now that was a minority, but the majority said, as you know, they dismissed the appeal.
I think the club was very fortunate not to be found responsible in that case, because I think it's pretty irresponsible to offer
be
$20
serving alcohol
yeah.
for all day.
And I know the Liquor Licensing Commission in Victoria aren't particularly happy about clubs that offer that sort of a deal where $20 all you can drink. It's just irresponsible service of alcohol.
But if you do that, then you've got a responsibility to make sure that patrons who are there all day have some sort of safety afterwards. You can't just leave it to them.
I think it raises a bar in terms of duty of care. It raises their duty of care is a lot
in my
higher.
opinion, the case could have gone either way.
Yep.
It was, I think, a 4-1 decision. 4 judges said no. 1 judge said yes, but the no's have it. The case was dismissed. But, there's a lot of issues about assaults in pubs and whether the pubs are responsible to keep patrons.
I think the facts of these cases highlight the fact that you should get advice from a lawyer that specialises in compensation. I use the word specialises because unless they're specialists, they can't know the intricate details of the law, how the facts vary from person to person, and a slight variation could mean that you win or lose. So it's very important you get an expert opinion.
All right, that's all we got time for at the moment. We're coming back after the break with some more cases and discussions about common law in Victoria.